The college football regular season is over, and there have been their fair share of Heisman moments, but who is actually going to win the award? Well, Bo Nix is currently the front runner. Bo Nix is having an incredible year for Oregon. Remember, he used to play at Auburn, transferred over there, and then followed by him is Michael Penix for Washington. He's an Indiana transfer. It really has been just the year of the transfer. These guys, a little bit older, been in college football for a while, but having a ton of success, and they both could certainly play in the college football playoff if all goes well. It's probably going to end up at this point one or the other, but the only loss that they even have combined was when they played each other. Now, Jayden Daniels will not be playing in the college football playoff. That's because LSU's lost 3 games. Now, still, LSU's ranked 15th in the country at 7-3. I mean, the reality is that is just life when you play in the SEC. It's tough. Granted, one of their losses was 45-24 to then number 8 FSU to start the season. LSU was number 5 at the time. And then still, I think one of the best games, if not the best game of the year so far, actually came against Ole Miss, who was then number 20. LSU was 13 at the time. Ole Miss ended up rallying in the fourth quarter and somehow managed to beat LSU 55-49. That was an incredible game, but a really tough loss for LSU. And then LSU just couldn't get by number 8 Alabama. LSU was 14 at the time, and Bama just thrashed them 42-28. So yes, I mean, it's been 3 losses for LSU, but it's not like LSU's dropped any easy games. Those are all really tough games. Those 3 teams are all ranked in the top 13 currently, but still, they lost, and LSU won't be in the playoff. On the other hand, the only loss combined between Washington and Oregon is when they played each other, and Washington won that one. And that really is the reason why they have a better chance at the trophy than Jayden Daniels. But the reality is, their play on the field has all been very similar. Bo Nix has thrown for 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns and 2 picks, and has 5 rushing touchdowns. Michael Penix, 3,500 yards, 28 interceptions, a kind of rough 7 interceptions, and he's rushed for 2 touchdowns. Then there's Jayden Daniels, right there with him. 3,100 yards, 30 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 8 rushing touchdowns. Now, I do really hate college rushing stats just because sacks do get pointed against it, but you really can't argue with the rushing stats here. Here are these 3's rushing yardage this year. Bo Nix, 121 yards, Michael Penix, -27, and Jayden Daniels, 918. He has been the LSU offense. He's been the most valuable player in college football. I think he's truly been the best player in college football, and he still may not win the award. And that's because of his team's lack of success, but that really shouldn't matter. The precedent has been set. Back in 2016, Lamar Jackson was fantastic. He passed for 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns. He did throw 9 picks, and then he made his living on the ground with 1,500 yards and scored another 21 touchdowns. He was incredible. It's one of the funnest seasons I've ever seen from a quarterback, but Louisville wasn't crazy good. 3 of their 4 losses that season were a blowout loss to Houston, a loss to Kentucky in that big rivalry game, and they also lost to LSU in the Citrus Bowl, but that doesn't actually matter for Heisman voting. Their other loss came in a close one against Clemson and Deshaun Watson, who ultimately came in second for the Heisman Trophy. Baker Mayfield ended up finishing 3rd that year and won it the next season, but Watson was fantastic. He had thrown for 4,600 yards, 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, rushed for 600 yards, and 9 touchdowns. It still wasn't enough to beat the guy who had just lost 2 straight and 3 on the season, including 1 to him. Watson went on to win the national championship, but Lamar was the Heisman winner, and rightfully so. And I think because of that, there is a real case to be had here for Jayden Daniels, not to mention this LSU team is significantly better than that Louisville team was back in 2016. I think what Lamar Jackson did there earned him the Heisman Trophy, and I think there's a real case here for the same to be said about Jayden Daniels. I think Bo Nix has been fantastic. I think Michael Penix has been fantastic. I also think Jayden Daniels has been fantastic. If I had to truly pick right now, I do truly think that Jayden Daniels has been the best player in college football. If I had to give out the Heisman Trophy tomorrow, I'll be honest, I'd give it to Bo Nix but Jayden Daniels is right there. I think it's Bo Nix. I think it's Jayden Daniels. I know Michael Penix is up there, but I don't think he's been the same type of player as these guys. I do think Washington is probably the best of those teams as well. But the reality is that playoff success matters so much, and at least those two still have a chance to get in. Now, just kudos to Jayden Daniels. He's just been absolutely fantastic this season. He's been one of my favorite players to watch all year. He's just been lighting it up. LSU's actually looked really good despite some of those losses, but Jayden Daniels has just completely raised his draft stock. And honestly, I wasn't too interested in him as a pro, but after this season, we've seen a lot of progression in his game. And if you actually compare it side by side with that crazy Joe Burrow Heisman season, they're not too different. Of course, there's a big name on LSU the same way there was Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. LSU has Malik Neighbors, who is just so good. Now, with how good this wide receiver class is, yeah, he might be like 3, 4, maybe even, after that, but he's been so good. I think he could be a really good NFL wide receiver. He already has almost 1,300 yards. He has 10 touchdowns. I think he is absolutely the real deal, and he's going to get talked about a ton during the draft process, but so is Jayden Daniels now. Like, I wasn't super high on him, but now you can't just deny what he's done this season. 2,900 yards. He's just been insane. He's been great through the air. He's been a huge threat on the ground. I think he actually looks like a much more polished passer than he was last season. I didn't think he was bad last season at all, but he's definitely been better now. He's up to a 73.1 completion percentage from 68.6 in 2022. His quarterback rating is also at 204.3, which is by far the best of his career. Now, his second best actually came as a freshman. If you didn't know, that wasn't at LSU. Jayden Daniels was the starter at Arizona State for 3 seasons, and he actually had 2 winning seasons there. The other one was a 500 COVID season, so that's a weird one to count anyway. His true staple win at Arizona State, though, keeps popping back up. People are sharing it on Twitter. They're talking about it again, and this one was a doozy. It was the end of the season, 2019, and Oregon was fighting to make the college football playoff in what was ultimately Justin Herbert's last season, and they ended up losing 31-28 to the Sun Devils. Justin Herbert really struggled in that one. He ended up throwing 2 picks, one of which was actually to Jack Jones, who was at Arizona State. Now, it was his first year at Arizona State, I believe, after he transferred from USC, but Jack Jones was on that team. Jayden Daniels, he had a hell of a day passing. He had 408 yards, 3 touchdowns, was just simply fantastic. And Brandon Ayuk had 161 of those yards and scored a touchdown. Then Eno Benjamin rushed for 114 yards. If that already isn't enough crazy Arizona State crossover for you, the former Jets and Chiefs head coach Herm Edwards was actually the Arizona State head coach, and the current Raiders interim head coach Antonio Pierce was the linebackers coach. It's just super cool to look back at that team, and now Jayden Daniels has been able to make his mark in the SEC, and honestly, he should have a shot at the Heisman. But either way, he's got his sights on something else now, the NFL. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Appreciate all the support as of late. If you don't already, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media at JDProdNFL. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DIIDLAKE. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for a new video.